Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Exiles Podcast. I'm Brooks, and this is Corey.
Today we're going to talk with Abraham Garcia. We're going to talk about his legacy in the whitetail industry, and then getting into Sonora and doing the mule deer, and his new project, Terra La Vida, hunting Coahuila.
So stay tuned. Well, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. This is one of the more exciting podcasts we're probably going to do here. So without further ado, this is Abraham Garcia, a man of many talents and skills, but known for his mule deer. And so thank you today for being on here with us.
Brooks, Corey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Just kind of jumping right into it. For anybody that doesn't know you, I'll introduce you. But we've come across each other in the last couple of years and heard great things, right? And you hear about mule deer hunting all over the states, but you hear about Sonora, you hear about kind of what you got going on now. So I won't ruin it for everybody, but just kind of give people the rundown on how you become such an expert in mule deer and had so much success in your career and provided for so many. Just where you started.
Well, I'm a hunter, just like you guys. So I think as Americans, we love and one of our staple hunts is the whitetail. Mm-hmm. But then we think of the mule deer. And when we think of mule deer, I think automatically we right away, it becomes more challenging to find the species and the trophy. So that's where it all begins. There's less places with trophy mule deer available in the States, available in Mexico, available in Canada. So that's where it begins as hunters. We begin to search for the trophy. Mm-hmm. And the mule deer is an American icon. Mm-hmm. We think of the West. We think of Colorado. It comes to my mind, obviously Mexico. Mm-hmm. And we have different subspecies of mule deer. We've got the Rocky Mountain, and then you go down to West Texas. You have the Pecos, and you go into the southern border, into Mexico. You have the Kruki mule deer, which is similar to the Pecos. And then you go to Sonora, and you have the Sonoran mule deer, which is known for the bigger antlers and more width. Mm-hmm. And there's another subspecies in Tiburon Island, which is west of Sonora, and that's the Sheldoni. Then you go into Baja, and you've got the blacktail. Is it a mule deer? Well, we call it a blacktail. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure on that one, but it's much smaller. Okay. It's very scarce, but people pursue the blacktail also, and you find it also in California and so forth. Mm-hmm. So in a few words, it's a beautiful species to work with and to hunt and to preserve. So it's been very rewarding.
Yeah, I can imagine. But yeah, I guess how'd you cut your teeth? Where'd you start? And kind of give us that.
Absolutely. So my dad is a hunter, and he was. We come from a family ranch that's in northern Mexico, right on the border with Texas. So between Laredo and McAllen, but on the south side of the border in Mexico. And that family ranch comes since 1890s from my great grandfather. But it's a whitetail region. And whitetail suffered a lot to the screwworm and to over harvesting for years. So my dad tells us the story that, as a hunter himself, he would have to spotlight all night to find a whitetail when he was young. Mm-hmm. So he was very hardcore about it, and he would look for the buck. Mm-hmm. Even back then, he wouldn't just shoot any animal. He was looking for a trophy, mm-hmm. and that was the way that he would hunt. Mm-hmm. So. When I was born, and I remember even at 3 years of age, sitting in a sendero, because we didn't use corn back there, and corn hadn't been introduced into whitetail hunting, and I still have memories of me with my milk bottle, strawberry milk bottle, and I would get mad if he wouldn't hand me a pistol.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting like on a sendero in the floor because there was no blinds yet.
Yeah.
And he would have to hand me the 38 revolver, and I would just hold it. And he would be with a rifle. And what you would do back then is you would look for crossings in the cattle fence, and you'd go 75, 100, 150 yards from the crossing, and you would just sit there and wait for deer to cross. So you would look for the biggest crossing.
Yeah.
And that was the way
High
to
traffic.
hunt them.
Where are they
high
at?
traffic.
Right here. Yeah.
Lots of patience.
But it was an all day because from
Just sit there. Yeah.
just sit there. So I had a lot of milk bottles.
Yeah, about a lot of milk bottles, a lot of pistols, right?
I don't remember that much at 3, but I do have those memories
That's cool.
that come to me. But I do know that at 4 I learned to shoot the rifle, and I got my first javelinas at 4 years of age with a 22 Magnum, and my first raccoons. And we were once again sitting by a pond. So that was the other way. You'd sit by water and just wait all day. Then at 5 years of age, I got my first buck, and it was on my first attempt with a 22 Magnum.
Wow.
And the rest is history.
Right.
I just
You're hooked from there.
I've been hooked. I just grew up hunting and loving the hunt. And there was always the part of conservation because of what I mentioned earlier, that the populations were so low. And we wanted to create a hunting ranch, first of all, for us to enjoy. So a few years passed, and my dad started to look at ways of how to increase population, how to better trophies, and so forth. So he was, if not the first high fence in Mexico, maybe the second one that came up. So it was in the 80s, and he started to high fence and to take care of whitetails and buy whitetails from other ranches to introduce and change up the genetics and improve them and what have
That's quite a plan from the jump.
Yeah.
From the 80s.
That's a lot of foresight.
Yeah, not many people in the 80s, I feel like, were there. That's really cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so definitely a pioneer. But he was a cattleman all his life. Never really stepped into the commercial hunting. But with his vision and his passion, he set the platform for a great commercial hunting operation. So when I was 16, I had my first client, a client from Duluth, Minnesota.
Wow.
And a doctor. And he came down and hunted, had a great time. We were able to get a beautiful whitetail, and then he ended up getting a second one on that first trip. And that's how I got going, word of mouth. And then next year he brought his sons and a couple of buddies, and we were on the other side of the spectrum because my first clients came from where IH-35 ends, and I'm from Laredo, Texas, and live in Laredo, so that's where it starts. You know,
That's awesome.
We'd laugh about that, you know,
100%.
because that's how we got started with that group of hunters.
Yeah.
And they've, with clients and hunters over the years, I just don't know that I work. You know, this is more of a passion and of taking people hunting. And it's just enjoyment, you know, to see people enjoy the outdoors, to be able to take them, for them to experience a great hunt, to fulfill the dream of a dream trophy. And obviously, as years have passed, we have also tried to improve everything that we do, from the service to the experience to the trophy, just every aspect of it. So that's been very enjoyable because we're always striving to do a better job. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I'm going to make you elaborate a little bit more on. So you high fence for probably the second person in all of Mexico to high fence. Your dad and you have a vision. You're 16. You have your first groups of clients. Where did you go from there? What did that do? You know, you said places have been over hunted, et cetera. You know, and what did you do for the area? What did you learn from this process that kind of what kicked you into your next kind of enterprise and what you kind of got into more serious on the mule deer side?
So a lot of the management back in the 80s of deer there was still a lot of unknowns. So it was a lot of trial and error. So we did grow the population, but when the population was growing, we did harvest some fantastic trophies. But then what we saw is that the population reached a certain point of maybe overpopulating. And we saw the quality of trophies like level off and maybe even go down. And that's when maybe protein came around, but it was a different ball game to really go all out with protein because it's a big cost. So it was like, okay, so if I feed my whole herd, I'm going to be running, I'm just going to throw a figure, $150,000 to feed all the animals on the ranch. And yes, I'm going to maybe up my quality, but I was only selling, in total hunts, maybe that amount.
Right.
So it made no business sense.
Right.
So it was a hard thing to grasp of how to do it and to what extent, especially back then. But we wanted to improve. We wanted to make it better.
Right.
So from, a business, but also the quality and the quantity. So we did see a success in that we populated the ranch because of hunting, because there was a revenue, and now a whitetail has a value and you take care of it. So that's why hunting works.
Yeah.
And then the second part was we met the challenges with how to improve genetics, because as trophy hunters, we're there and we extract the bigger antlered trophy out of a ranch. So then that's when we started to step into genetics. Because if you don't preserve those genetics of the trophy animals and look for ways to multiply them, then you're just going to be extracting the best trophies, and then after several years, there's no more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's something definitely have to kind of have balance and, but when we talk about trophies, there's a range of trophies, right? For me, like I've never killed more than 160-inch mule deer. So what you're talking about is only from, 160 all the way to some of the bigger deer I've been told is over 200 inches, which is just unbelievable. I would, can't imagine looking at one of those.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's I think that's a good point. There's a full spectrum of a trophy, from a guy that just getting into it, 170-inch deer, if you've never seen one of those, and get your hands on that and feel that mass and things like that. That's so cool. And then to be able to climb that ladder as you progress, of hunting with you, of going 170 and 180, 190, and then finally getting to that kind of 200 club that you guys talk about, which is, that's a cool journey.
Yeah. You put on a cool jacket and the whole deal. So you got quite the experience.
Yeah. So I got started in the whitetails, and then it was a dream of mine because my dad did take me hunting to Colorado for mule deer. He was fortunate in his first year going up to the Rocky Mountains to get a beautiful Rocky Mountain mule deer that scored in the high 90s.
Wow.
So just an awesome trophy. And when he took me a couple years after, and I ended up I only saw one mature buck, and it was a one antlered. And I took him. Yeah. So I took the picture like I was hiding the one side.
Yeah. Just hugged him really tight.
I went in front of him and I just showed that one side. I was so proud of that buck, So,
That's awesome.
But yeah, mule deer was a dream of mine to step into it. So at our family ranch, we grew that business, in 20-some years. We went from harvesting 15, 20 hunts and what have you. And then we started to see how the U.S. Was managing ranches and how they could increase their numbers and so forth. And we ended up implementing some of those management practices. And in 2009, after 20-some years, we took that ranch that was 10,000 acres to harvesting 220 whitetails a year.
Wow.
So we
That's
ended
a big
up
scale
with,
right there.
It was a big scale.
Ramped it up.
Really
We
cool.
ramped it up big time. And we used, and I'll tell you what practice we used. We used a helicopter to purchase a lot of whitetails in the region from ranches that maybe didn't have hunters. But in Mexico, you get X amount of quota for a ranch, depending on your population, and you can either capture and sell that quota, or you can harvest it with hunters. So the ranches that didn't have hunters would sell to us, and we'd go in with a helicopter, catch those bucks, and we just started to repopulate and increase our numbers to the point we were able to harvest that amount.
Yeah, I think that's what people miss too. Is like y'all invested in the whole operation, right? Anybody that's going to go hunt a trophy deer in any realm wants, certain amenities. They want, there are certain hunts, across the states of sheep, and you sleep in a tent, etc. But when you come to Mexico and come to one of your operations, we're talking 5-star experience, right? I've experienced it a little bit, and I'm like, I like this, right? Once you roughed it, you slept in the truck in the afternoon and other stuff, and you have some really cool stuff going on that we'll get to. But I just think you keep in mind when it's like, it's not just corporate hunting, it's not just harvesting, it is the full-blown experience from the time you shake someone's hand and meet them and greet them and bring them in. It's a family setting. It's a people you've cared about and hunted with you forever because of who you are.
That's right. So in Mexico, we have, I think, an advantage that we've got easy access to labor force, a lot of people that need work and want to work. So that really helps us to be able to establish a team that you can give great service. So I did want to focus on that from the start, and we try to improve that every year because we want to give like a 5-star experience to the client. Yes, we might rough it for the day and throughout the hunt, but when we come back to the lodge, you're going to be pampered. We've got the spa, we've got the bartender.
The margarita when you drive up, or the whole deal. I'm all in. Let's sign me up.
That's been part of it. So, and that brings when your wives come with you and the family, then they love the experience also, because it's a very nice accommodation, and we take care of them. They love the experience, and that's that gives you permission to come every year.
Yeah,
if
no,
your wife
it's a two-way
comes
street.
with you.
It's
So
a two-way street for sure.
It works out good.
So yes, family ranch, whitetail. Let's talk about the when you moved to Sonora and you decided to get in the mule deer business. Something you obviously always chased and loved. Just kind of talk about that transition and what you built there.
So in Sonora, I was fortunate to I've worked 10 years and in numerous ranches. And what I found in Sonora when I first got there is that a lot of hunters hunt Sonora every year. So, and there's a lot of outfitters that lease ranches and hunt ranches, but not necessarily invest back into the land or into the herds. So you do find a lot of ranches that have been over-harvested, and we all think of mule deer and we all think of 200-inch. That's like the ultimate dream to reach that score of a trophy. So I think that happens, but also Sonora ranchers started to look at the resource, and they started to reinvest into taking care of animals, into protein feeding, into predator control. So there's a lot of ranches that have stepped into management in the recent years, and they've been able to turn it around, and they run fantastic operations, which I've been a part of a few, and we also implemented genetic conservation and preservation to where we even established a protocol. This is extreme, but it shows you what we do, of how to collect semen post-mortem of a trophy. So at first we were like running all these trials, we'd cut the testicles, and the doctor was like, well, put them between your legs and drive for 2 hours and keep the same temperature. Right? So we were like taking these testicles, all the way to the doctors. Well, it didn't work. And then we tried something else.
My seat's messed up now, but that's
put them in a cooler, and we tried the cooler. Now you shocked the semen, and it went too cold. And we finally established the right protocol. So we're able now to collect the trophies that are harvested
and keep them kind of lines running.
and then you just start building a semen and genetic bank of some of the best trophies that are taken. And then you take that, you AI those from the wild and kick them back, and now you're doing something for genetic conservation.
Right. Really cool. Really cool. And you're kind of always keeping the deer that have, built your place and keeping them kind of in the genetic genes around there. So very cool.
And then second part is don't shoot the young deer.
Right, you're always. That's the other thing about
guides
trophies. Like
step
trophies
in.
have an age, right? And what is the average age on a harvestable animal?
So mule deer, just like whitetails, 5 years of age, they start peaking. But in comparison, well, I would say similar. They do get bigger at 6, and if the year is good, they can be outstanding and maybe even give their best year at 7 and 8 years old.
Wow. If there's not a whole lot of pressure and a lot of things go right with rain and nutrition and stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely fascinating. So I don't think you give yourself enough credit from what I've been told, and I know you're a very humble man, and I respect that very much out of you. But when we talk about Sonora, I think at the time, the stories I've heard, it was very overhunted, and you kind of brought this whole game plan into this area of this is how you manage animals. This is how you build a ranch. This is how you build corporate hunting and a commercial commercialize something that is awesome.
I think I've been maybe one of many that have contributed to Sonora as a state, and I hope I've left something good in the state. I know that through hunting, we've been able to. A lot of ranches have benefited through the management practices, obviously producing more and bigger mule deer, which are scarce, and that has also generated more income and more jobs, and it just multiplies across the board. It produces tourism, and it benefits a state and a region and what have you.
Yeah, there's a lot of things at play.
In 10 years, I've seen how Sonora has progressed for the better.
Yeah.
So there's
it's
a lot.
Become like a tourist attraction,
That's right. That's right.
So like a destination.
A great place. There's a lot of great ranches out there and great hunts. You always have to do your homework there, like any other place in the world. To where you're going with reputable people, people that do have a good word, and they're going to give you a great hunt.
So there. Elaborate. I mean, was it just mule deer for you? Was there other species that you developed, and what you've kind of transitioned into your new and next, experience and business model, et cetera?
So mule deer to me is I would say my passion. The big antlers just do it for me.
Every time. I haven't seen a picture of one I haven't liked. I promise you that.
And to see a big mule deer out there in the mountain range, it's just spectacular. But we have been working with desert bighorns, and that is a very majestic trophy also. So a great hunt. It's a mountain hunt. So that's a fantastic animal. It's one of the 4 big rams that for your American Grand Slam. You have the Rocky Mountain, you have the Stone, the Dull, and then the Desert. So we are fortunate in working with the Desert Bighorn. And in Mexico, you also find 14 of the 26 subspecies of whitetails. So one of the subspecies is the Coues deer. And the Coues, in my opinion and in many hunters' experience, is a very elusive and great hunt because of the challenge it poses. So it's the type of animal that you're looking at him through the binoculars. Maybe you spotted him up in the mountain, and as you actually looking at him, and then he's not there. So
that's pretty cool.
Just with that said,
do they have any kind of nickname? Anything you'll call him, like a ghost or anything like that?
They do call him the desert ghost.
The desert ghost.
Yeah,
that's cool. Kind of makes them very, very sought after for that. Well, let's just jump right into it. Let's talk. Obviously, Sonora, you built quite a name for yourself there. You expanded, right? You're doing whitetail 200 plus hunts a year. At your max in Sonora, were you over 200 there on the mule deer side?
We also were able to take our operation, as a whole, and in different ranches. And if I add up in 10 years what I was doing as an outfitter, yes, we were harvesting over 200 trophies,
Right.
between mule deer, bighorn, and coos deer per year. So
That's really
yeah, we've
that's busy. That's a busy season.
it's a busy season.
When you talk about trophies, how many, just for perspective for everybody, right? When we talk about a 200-inch mule deer being kind of the wow factor, of the 200 hunts, whatever, 150, 180 of them are mule deer, probably potentially.
Mm-hmm.
How many 200-inch deer are you producing a year, even at your scale and
So-
investment and effort?
So in year one, in Sonora, we were able to harvest 4 mule deer, over 200 in 3 different ranches.
Yeah.
So that goes to show you. In year 10 in Sonora, we were probably right around that 45 deer over 200.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. And how big are these ranches? Just give people scale. How much land were you covering?
Yeah, I think given ranch would be 20,000 acres, another one 50,000 acres. So
Yeah.
big properties, and we believe in the word hunting. So to me, a hunter, you've got to pursue something that's going to pose a challenge.
Absolutely.
And as men and as humans, I think that challenge drives us to achieve the goal. And so that drive is what we pursue.
Right.
Really harvesting the animal or the trophy is the icing on the cake.
Yeah,
right.
But the
It's the pursuit,
experience,
right.
the challenge, that's what we like.
No doubt. Well, let's talk about Terra La Vida. Let's talk about what you have in store, what you've done in the state of Coahuila.
So in 2024, we switched gears and we began some new projects in the state of Coahuila. It's central Mexico, and we've gone to establish the first destination. Its name is Terra La Vida, which means the vine or the life. And we went to the vine for a couple of reasons. One, we're in wine country, and it's not that many people know this, but the oldest winery in North America is found there in our town of Parras de la Fuente, and it was established in 1597.
Wow.
And it's a beautiful winery with lots of history and great wine. So I am passionate about red wine also and about wine. So I sort
Match
of,
made in heaven there. You're
I think that's what drove me to the region. But no, it's an untapped region. So when I saw the habitat, the elevation, the weather, obviously this first year was a test to see how animals would do as we would introduce them to the region, and they just loved it. They're thriving. We do start in a high fence scenario because that's the only way to introduce a species, but our high fences are very big to the point that they pose a great hunt.
Yeah.
And with challenge and for it to be a fair chase hunt, even within a high fence environment. So we're in the mountains. This first year, every client absolutely loved it. They loved the destination. They loved the hunt. They loved the ranch. We took some fantastic trophies as year one. So Terra La Vida is up and running.
That's awesome.
And,
That's awesome. Well, congrats to you on
Thank
making the business come to life.
Thank you.
Yeah, who isn't passionate about wine country and hunting at the same time? And I think there's a lot of women that want to come join on this spa treatment,
Good.
wine country, and whatever. So
Yeah,
my
it's
wife-
like the Napa for like the wife, but also like the Napa for the hunter.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of
Exactly.
double dip it there.
no doubt. So where do you go from here? Obviously, I think what people don't know in the room is, you're constantly booked. It is years that people wait in line and try to get a hold of you and stuff like that. And that's been a progression over the last 10 years and what you've built as a company and people seeking you out. And I think that's what I have found really intriguing. Like everybody wants value. They want to go with people that are trusted. But you've established that over a long period of time and the people you surrounded yourself with. And like you mentioned, your staff and support of your community. And, we've heard several hunters that have gone with you and they're walking around and I don't know the city's name, but walking around eating ice cream and at dark and stuff and having a good time and experiencing the whole culture. And I think that's a big part of anywhere you traveled. I've traveled all over the world, lived in South Korea and been to Taiwan and all these places. And, if you can go to Mexico and have an amazing experience, not being on a beach and be super developed, et cetera, I think that's something I've always kind of seeked out. So I think it's really, really exciting and cool to be in wine country. And in one of the mountain ranges around there, like aren't elevations up to like 12,000 feet in the general area, like outside Monterey and all that?
Yes, you find high elevations. Terra La Vida is at average of 5,700 foot elevation. So you do start feeling
it's really cool.
The elevation, and also it's quite cold. So it poses that challenge. But so that's the first destination, but we're already working on a couple of places in the state and neighboring states that we're going to be coming out and showcasing here soon. Obviously, it takes work and investment and producing animals and everything through management practices. But the idea is to offer multi-destination, different experiences throughout the region with a few species that'll vary from place to place. Like one of the places we've got fantastic Coues deer. They're to the west of Terra La Vida, and we're about to come out with that destination. Then we'll go to the north, and it's going to be an incredible destination there with Carmen Mountain whitetail, native elk. It'll have the bighorn sheep, and it'll have the Sonora mule deer with vast acreage. So that'll be an incredible place to hunt and to visit also.
Yeah.
And I want to speak just a little bit about trophies. So a trophy, in my opinion, it's, like I said, I think the experience, a mature animal, and not necessarily is it the biggest in rack or 200 inches. My first mule deer was a 162, and to me it's a trophy. Why? Because it was my first one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in the Sonora mule deer, you get the wide racks, and I think it was a big 3x4 that I first harvested, and I love it.
Right. Yeah. Probably still have it.
I love it. And then absolutely, I've got it at my house, and I've got mounted and everything, and then I progressed to 170 class. So I've really enjoyed
the experience,
and building also, because if you go and shoot a 200 first outing, I mean that also, where do you go from there?
Right.
So
yeah.
But they come in different shapes, sizes, just like whitetail.
Right.
So it's like a staple hunt for us as hunters and as American hunters, to where we hunt mule deer and whitetails every year.
Yeah, just to elaborate on that, I mean, I think all of us have their own preferences. There's something about seeing a really wide, heavy, 3x3. I remember growing up and we're hunting whitetail, and I mean, anytime you saw over a 148 point was more impressive than a standard 10 that scored the same. You're just like, man, that's a good rack. He's wide and got some good tine length and beams. He's dark horn. Like each of us have our own thing. And we've seen some pictures of some of the 2x2s and 3x3s. You're like,
they're awesome.
Oh man, that's kind of a trophy in its own regard.
Yeah,
because it's rare, right? And sought after, and as many. There's not that many 200-inch deer. There's definitely not many 2x2s or 3x3s that are scoring 170, 180 either. So there's kind of a scale, like you said. There's what does that person kind of looking for and have goals to do. And I've always been a big advocate, especially growing up with our dad. You started with a spike, then a 4-point. Then you're culling and you're part of this process and management and gutting your own deer, and can you drag him out by yourself, and then maybe step into the 7s and the 8s. And I think the best deer when we were in high school, Corey killed on a whim, the 10-point.
Yeah.
Man, you would have thought we killed a 240-inch whitetail. It was like probably
It's been a long time to get there.
We were like, you let it him?
Yeah.
Wait, that's a good deer right there. Awesome. Yeah. But it's a progression, right? We think of it as a pursuit your entire life. And this may be a polarizing opinion, but for me, a trophy hunting, if you go kill the best deer in each category, best moose, best whatever, and you're kind of just checking boxes, you kind of miss out on the whole experience.
You do.
of the people, that you surround yourself with, the group that you're going with, et cetera. So I really love the business model that you have, and getting 4 to 6, 8 guys tops of the right people in a setting, enjoying each other's company, kind of this unique environment. I think we all seek that. And you get to do something you love with hunting and the experience and stuff. And I get why so many people want to go with you.
Thank you. So that is our recommendation. Especially if somebody hasn't hunted a mule deer, we recommend, hey, come and experience and start with a 160, 170 as a trophy, as your first trophy, and then just build from there.
Yeah.
You're going to enjoy your mule deer hunting career
No doubt.
for a longer time, and you're going to be very satisfied.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, we're coming. I mean, I don't know if you have to tell me to leave. I'm pretty sure, but no. Let's talk. I'm obsessed with them. I haven't actually even hunted one, but let's talk bighorn. How you got into them, introducing them, what you have now. I mean, you told me, before we got on here, just how heavy their, everything is, and I'm fascinated.
So Mexico's, we're very fortunate at having the desert bighorn in Mexico, and it's found in a couple of places that mainly has been reintroduced, repopulated once again. So desert bighorns are thriving in Mexico because of ranchers and because of hunting ranches that have invested back into the species. And to give you an idea, in the 1990s, early 90s, there was only over 1,000 sheep in the mainland of Mexico without counting the islands. Mm-hmm. And right now, the population's around 12 to 13,000. Wow. So it's done very well, and it's because of hunting and hunting income that people want to
more invest
and repopulate, and that's what we've done also at Terra La Vid. We've brought a herd that we've reintroduced. We've invested in it, and now it's a matter of taking care of it. And we do have old rams that came with that reintroduction, so we're able to start harvesting.
You showed me a picture
right away.
Tell me how big some of those.
No, they're awesome. The desert bighorn, you wouldn't believe it because its neck is not that thick.
Right.
And they go up the mountains and down the mountains sometimes in releases that you go, how are they walking through that? And they just like a wall, and they'll just go up and down that. Mm-hmm. But when you do actually harvest one and you pick up that head with the horns and everything, it's 35 pounds. You go, how in the world can they carry that?
Yeah, just those bases. How big are bases?
Bases will vary between 15 and 17 inches, right on the base circumference. So it's
just
incredible.
A majestic animal to kind of see in the wild.
They are. Yeah. They are, and to see them up in the high mountain and skyline.
Oh, they skyline, anything skyline, you're just like, oh man.
And like I want people to understand, like when you have, Mexico's at 12 to 13,000, sheep in the country, right, in the mainland. But I mean, harvestable and in the investment in time, like the price tags, and everybody knows that sheep hunting is expensive. Everybody knows that from the jump. If you talk about bighorn, get your checkbook out, right? But what's cool about them is what I can appreciate now after you kind of like break down the numbers a little bit. You don't harvest rams under 8 years old all the way up to they can live to 16, 17, 18. Where's
that's right. That's right. I would say we harvest rams between 10 and 12 years old right now. Mm-hmm. So it's a long time.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot
to reach the trophy age, and a lot of investment on behalf of the rancher of taking care of it and feeding it and everything. So there's a lot of cost to it. Not everything is profit on it, but it works out.
Right. I always want people to recognize that. Like when you own land or manage land, even as simple as if you were to purchase, 1,000 acres in Texas, and you think that, I spent 1,000 acre or whatever, $1 million there. But it's like the lodge, the people that work there, the animals introduction, the feed, the everybody that's involved in the whole process. And you're talking about this spanning multiple years, all this effort, all this investment. I mean, like you can't really put a number on it. Yeah. When it's right, it's right. Mm-hmm. But most people just have to go in there and appreciate it as it is. And so that's what I found really cool as I've gotten more into it. That like, man, there's a lot more legwork than hey, we're going to go hunting today. He's right out here kind of deal. It's not like that at all, which I really respect and appreciate.
Yeah. One of the cool stories you told us whenever you were first getting Terre La Vide set up, it was y'all didn't have y'all were working on building the lodge and everything, and you had this idea of going and doing the Adobe style houses that y'all could kind of like have a place to go during lunch and eat there, and then build these little cabins that y'all made. I just think that's so cool. And you talk about, just like reinvesting into it and then just developing like, the whole experience.
Yeah, cultural experience. That's super cool. I mean, just you explaining the process of finding the local people that still know how to make those bricks, right? Like, and bringing them out there, teaching a whole group of people how to do it. And, you're stressing and you're like, oh, how do I get all this done? And
by the end of the day, we were producing 360 bricks a day.
Yeah. But that's super cool because that old world appreciation for craftsmanship, experience and creating value on the land, I think that's just fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I started to look around the region and the little towns, and obviously our main town of Parras, and there's a lot of adobe construction because of how old that region was developed, And I said, I want to do something with that, because we all are used to modern construction. So I said, I want to implement some of that. So I started asking around town and the neighboring cities, hey, I need to buy adobe bricks. I couldn't find them. Mm-hmm. So we found an old man there in town that knew how to make them. So we brought him out and he taught us. So,
that's so cool.
Yeah. We started
but that's something that you've now created history in something on your ranch that I think is fascinating. I'm going to go, first thing I'm going to do is go check this thing out. I'm like, there was a man in town that still remembers how to do this. I think that's super cool because it's rare.
Yeah.
People don't work with their hands and create things like that. And I think that's why we are fascinated by rifles, because there's a craftsmanship to it. So when you see time and effort versus the kind of big scale machined out, no one really involved in this process, and
what's the quickest way we can get anything done? It's kind of cool to go back to those kind of old styles.
There's something about those adobe rooms that you sleep really well. I'm telling you,
a little cooler than most places.
Last night we were at the Hilton, and it's not the same.
Not the same. Well, I could appreciate that. Yeah, we have to talk to the guy that set all that up for you. Get that one figured out. But no, I mean, to wrap this up, I want to discuss and tell people kind of what we're doing with Exile and meeting people like you, industry leaders, right people, good people.
Thank you.
And kind of like our event that we just did, the people that we had in the room, you and Nyland, and all the capability, the outfitters, bringing in the South Africa, the Totally guys, yourself, creating a floor and a space for you to get to know our clients in the area, shake hands, meet and greet. I mean, and building trust and confidence in what people do, because so much of, we've discussed this 1,000 times, but if you want to go hunting and you want to do stuff, you kind of got to know people before you really step out there when it becomes an investment of your own money and time, etc. And so I think that was super cool. The feedback we got from our guys around here was unbelievable. Like, is this man know more about mule deer, desert bighorn, and coos than I could ever imagine? But just the opportunity to shake your hand, I'm like, I don't know who you're talking to. So it's been really cool to create that space.
Yeah.
Well, we're constantly learning, so that's the nice part about the working with wild animals and mule deer, and especially mule deer that have been a species that has suffered all throughout North America. It's a very delicate species and what have you, although numbers are stable right now. Obviously, we're always trying to learn, and how do we improve them? How do we better them? How do we increase the numbers and so forth? So it's been fascinating to work with them, and I totally agree. I mean, the getting to know people that were like-minded in the fact that we want to always give a little bit more of what people expect in the product or service we provide goes a long ways. Mm-hmm. So I think we do our best, and God does the rest.
I agree. Amen. Well, thank you again, Abraham, for being on here. I know Corey and I have learned a lot, and look forward to hunting with you in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.